Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is our United show. This is Devil's Advocate, and today, myself and my co-host for this evening, Mr. Sean Maroney, are joined by a very special guest here today. So we're joined by Mr. Rhodri Giggs, and we're here to take on the weekly Armchair Sports Talk all things Manchester United. We're talking about Rhodri playing football as well. We're also going to talk about Wales at the Euros, and we're also going to talk about transfers going forward as well for Manchester United, and where we think we can build going into the upcoming season that is just around the corner. First of all, Rhodri, how are you? It's very good to have you on the show here today.
Yeah, I'm good. Good, mate. Thanks. It's good to be on.
That's very good, and thanks very much for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure, and I do really appreciate you taking the time to come on this evening.
No, there's no problem anytime.
Before we actually talk about Manchester United in itself, I done a good bit of research on you just in terms of where you actually played football and how you were involved with football yourself. You previously played with Salford City and FC United of Manchester, obviously two clubs who would be in the same area as Manchester United, and obviously FC United of Manchester would have kind of like, I suppose, a connection with Manchester United some way. Obviously, it was founded in around the time when the Glazer ownership kind of came into Manchester United. Just talk to us how it kind of revolved, like how you kind of got involved with both Salford and FC United of Manchester, and kind of talk to us about your time kind of at them two clubs.
Well, Salford, I was at. Salford is where I've grown up. So
yeah,
Salford City's always been my team, obviously from where I grew up. So. But I played for Salford from when did I start playing for Salford? When I was about 20, when I started back playing football, it was about 21, when I got back from London. So, and then I went to Bangor City, left Salford and then went to Bangor City, and then obviously went to prison. So then I come out and then went back to Salford. So, but yeah, FC United, my mate, a friend who I played for, funny enough, at Salford City, Carl Margson, he got the manager's job at FC United. So I was at a team at Mosley who were doing well in a few leagues above that, and he asked me to come for the start of the season in 2005, and I was a bit wary, thinking, is it going to be a flash in the pan? So I said, well, let's see how you get on, and then I'll join you next year. And funny enough, I'm glad I stayed because we won that league with Mosley. And then the next year in 2006, I joined FC United. And then funny enough, we played Salford, and the manager was talking crap. And Salford City is my team. FC United's not. So it's always been Salford City, and the manager was talking crap in the local paper. So we ended up beating them 4-2, and I got an hat-trick. So he didn't do that again. But yeah, it was a good time for being at FC United, being at Gig Lane. There was 5,000-6,000 people there every game. It was mad, really, when you're playing non-league football and you're only getting like 400 or 500, and then suddenly it's just like non-stop singing. It was just literally like being at Old Trafford back in the 90s when I started going, when I used to go on the Stretford end. So, but yeah, it was a good atmosphere. It's changed a bit now. It's a lot less, but they've got their own ground. They're still going strong, and yeah, it's a really good club.
And like in terms of that, how did that feel for yourself? Because obviously you just said like you were a Stretford ender, you're in the realm Manchester United for many, many years. To kind of play for a club then like FC United of Manchester, we all know essentially why they were founded. Obviously it was kind of in opposition towards kind of the Glazer ownership at that time. How did that kind of feel? Did it almost kind of feel like, it meant a bit more because, it was a club that kind of split away from Manchester United?
Well, yeah, it meant a lot to people. They were just normal people that come together and tried to start their own club. And like I said, they're still going strong, and they've got a fantastic stadium and training facilities to go with it. So, no, it wasn't a problem. I wasn't bothered about it. I just wanted to play in front of 5,000-6,000 people, and I was still. Well, the money wasn't great, to be honest. I think it was 50 quid a week or something. I'd actually gone down. I was playing like 3 or 4 leagues above. I'd just won the league, and I'd come down to play for FC United, and like half my money. It wasn't about money. It was just about playing in front of in front of that crowd and playing at obviously Gig Lane at a decent pitch every week.
Yeah, and look, that's again, it's good to kind of see they're still going now because obviously, like since 2005, it hasn't really really stepped up since then. But you can see like they're still going strong. They still have strong support. Like actually do. I follow them on social media as well. Though I always take a look from time to time because there's sometimes look. I'll be honest. There's times myself especially in the last kind of decade or so. There's been times where I've become a bit disillusioned with my own football club with United, and I always kind of take a look at how the FC United are doing, how Salford are doing, because it's always good.
I went back there in when did I go back there? Start play. I went back there. I was playing. I then obviously ended up back at Salford. Then I ended up back managing Salford for 2 years, and there was talks about changing the manager, so I made it very easy for him and just walked out and left, and then went playing for FC United. I left FC United playing wise, and then took over the academy when just as they'd moved into the ground the first year. So the first year they moved into the ground, I was looking after 35 kids every day for I was there for 2 years. It was a good experience, and they were obviously doing it the right way, and yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, and in terms that you worked with the kids as well, like obviously being in kind of in around the Manchester and kind of Salford area, what was the kind of talent pool like at that time? Because there's always magnificent talents coming out of Manchester.
They could play football, but you obviously got United, City, then you've got Bolton, then you've got Rochdale, and you've got Oldham. So you've got all them pools. So you probably get the players that have been at Rochdale, have been at Oldham, and have been let go in the last minute, and then they've ended up at FC United or. Yeah, so that kind of pool. So on the cuffs of being at a pro club, but on the last second they've been said no, we're going to go a different level, and they end up coming to us.
And Sean, I understand you have a couple of questions just for Rhodri in relation to that as well.
Yeah, Justin. Just actually before you kind of go on to Manchester United, we have a lot to talk about on that. Obviously, with the summer dealings and that you've made so far, you've been very active, and obviously the appointments of John Murton and that has kind of pushed United to another level in recruitment. Before we go on to all that, obviously, Rhodri, as a Welshman, you had the Euros to look forward to in the summer. Feel Wales had a very tough group. Obviously, going into the tournament, Turkey would have been a lot of people's underdogs to go far and do very well in it. Obviously, Wales turned them over 2-0, lost marginally to Italy. I actually took a keen interest in Wales over the Euros. Obviously, they have Ethan Ampadu there, who's a Chelsea player. Obviously, he's a Chelsea fan, wanted to keep a close eye on him. I think he was kind of harshly sent off in that Italy game. Obviously, then the Denmark game in the knockout stage. It's just kind of to summarise, how did you feel Wales done at the Euros, and kind of is there any players that stood out to you or surprised you?
Any players stood out that surprised me? I think that the centre half has come on a bit, but obviously that's helped him being at Tottenham and playing at Tottenham. Is it Rondon or Rodon? Yeah. So he's looked like he's come on a bit, and Robert Page really he's in a difficult position. Last minute, and I thought he'd done well, and the lads done well. We're not going to get to we were lucky to get to the semi-finals 2016. We were probably dreaming if we think we're going to get to that again. Although, if we beat Denmark and went on that run, we possibly could have. But Denmark were, after what happened with the first game, they are a fantastic side, and that obviously did affect them. So, and they grew into the tournament and proved to be a top side in it. So there's no shame in getting beat off them. So yeah, it was a disappointing way to go out. I don't think it was a 4-0 scoring. I think they'll be disappointed with that. But all in all, they can't be too disheartened or unpleased about it.
Yeah, obviously still in strange times, kind of coming out of COVID, and people started going to some of the games.
And the travelling as well was a big thing. We started at Baku, we went to Italy, and back to Baku, then back to Amsterdam, where Denmark played Copenhagen 3 times in their group, and then travelled 300 miles to Amsterdam. The travelling, it does tire you out. I do know that as a player. When you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, and you've got a long Hall. I don't know why we've talked about it so many times. I don't know why it does take it out of you travelling. So and it looks like we've seen that against Denmark.
Yeah, I can only imagine kind of how much that can affect the players. A lot of people don't actually take that into account either. I know England got to the final, but they played a lot of home games at Wembley as well. They didn't have as much travelling to do. In terms of kind of
Italy as well, Rome, they didn't do much travelling.
Yeah, true, very true. Just in terms of kind of watching it, yourself at home, how was the experience? Obviously, you already got that semi-final run back in 2016. I'd say like the atmosphere around that was pre-COVID. I'd say it was a very good buzz around watching that. How did you find watching the Euros kind of in strange times, obviously, but
it was strange, but it was kind of back to normal because there was a few fans in the crowd, so it wasn't that, pre-season friendly type feel to it.
Yeah.
So there's fans in there, but no, it's always good to watch Wales. I feel like the Wales team now of the last 4 or 5 years, that you can even win, lose or draw. It's like the Wales rugby side. They give everything, and you can't be unpleased either way. As long as they give everything, you can't ask more than that.
Yeah, 100%. And you actually have a few decent young players there. Obviously, you said Joe Rodon, Ethan Ampady was there. Dan James is still relatively young.
Dylan Levitt as well.
Well, that's you've got to give credit to the previous managers doing that, but getting all the older crowd out and bringing the young lads through, and you're reaping the rewards of that now. So
yeah,
and it helps with Robert Page. It helps Robert Page knowing them players, and so it made the change seamless, really.
Yeah, definitely. I quite enjoy watching Wales, like you said, with the rugby team. Even if they win, lose or draw, I feel that they always give it their all on the field as well, and there's some exciting players there.
That wasn't always the case with the football. Rugby. Whenever it's Wales rugby, win, lose or draw, they're giving everything. That wasn't always the case for the Wales team. Now you see that. So yeah.
Definitely. No, I agree with your point there completely. I completely agree with it.
And in terms of it as well, you look at Dylan Levitt, a young Man United player as well from our under-23s, was also in that Wales squad as well. That was actually, for me personally, being a United fan, that was great to see him, especially get a game. Albeit, it was in the group stage, kind of in a dead rubber game, but to kind of see even academy players get into that Wales squad, it was kind of good to see the blend of youth and experience, especially the fact that you have your Bales, you have your Ramseys, even Joe Rodens, players like that. It was a good mix of a squad there, whereas kind of, even when Ireland got to the Euros in 2016, we had a very old squad, going to the group stage then kind of, but you look at this Wales squad in Euro 2020, it was a blend of youth and experience, and you think, looking forward now, the next World Cup or the Euros, some of these young players will have that tournament experience and they could go further.
Yeah, it's that tournament experience invaluable. I think you can see the Scottish are trying to follow that mould with their young players, and because they've struggled at late, but you've seen they kind of did or are getting better through the young players that they're bringing them through and giving them experience. But yeah, that tournament experience is invaluable.
100%, and again, it'll stand them in good stead for their club football as well. Coming into either the Premier League or some of these players playing in the Championship, I think it'll stand them in good stead, and it'll give them that kind of experience that when they do make that step up, even at club level or even going into maybe the Winter World Cup next year, they'll have that experience and they'll have that, I suppose, drive to maybe do that bit better.
Yeah, like I say, the experience and being around them type of players, Gareth Bale and Ramsey, and watching what they do, it's invaluable.
100%. And you actually look at, just to kind of segue to Manchester United, Rhodri, these last couple of years, it's been kind of a rebuilding process under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's had to move on kind of a lot of older players, kind of bring in some of the younger players and kind of bring in some more experienced players kind of alongside that. First 2 full seasons, he's got third and second, kind of on the back of kind of a time at the football club when Jose Mourinho was there, that there was a lot of disharmony in the dressing room, was really divided, but it looks like it's probably the most, likeable Manchester United team, I'd say, post Sir Alex Ferguson. How would you assess Solskjaer's reign in kind of the last couple of years, and what would be your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. When he got there, it was a big job in his hand. There was a lot of dead weight, a lot of non-Manchester United players at the club, so it was a big job for him. And And slowly but surely, he's got rid of him and brought quality in, young quality, and some old as well. You know, Cavani. When you see a deal like that, you can't turn away from it. And he's brought him into the club and he's done wonders, and he's managed to keep him for another year, which is brilliant as well. So, yeah, it's disappointing with the only thing that's disappointing is that you get to semi-finals, you get to finals, you need to be winning them, not losing them, because he's got a trait of losing big games at the minute. But this season we've kind of done well in the transfer. I hope Paul Pogba stays, or if he goes, we bring someone in for him, because then that's a massive loss for us if we lose him. But yeah, it bodes well for the season. But the pressure's on him now. He's in his third season. He's been given big money, so he needs to be challenging, or not at least winning something. Because he is under pressure, and he needs to start winning things. This is Manchester United. It's not Arsenal or Tottenham, or whether they're happy with finishing fourth. This is Manchester United. We need to get back to winning titles.
Yeah. Rhodri, I love the fact you said that, because we on this podcast we do sometimes have Arsenal and Tottenham fans on it, so I'm absolutely clipping that up and sending it on to the lads. Thanks very much. And Sean, I understand you've there's a couple of questions for Rhodri with regards to our recruitment this summer.
Yeah, no, look, obviously you said there the window is going very well so far. Kind of like from an outside view, I have to agree. Obviously, we had a big window last summer, and I'm seeing kind of shades of that again. You're hitting the window early and you're getting targets in, but it's not just targets because of their names. I think it's kind of you're covering up positions that you need to cover. Centre back, obviously Varane. It doesn't come much better than that. Sancho is a target from last year. Looking in from the outside, before the window, I would have said United's biggest need and biggest hole to fill, I think, is that defensive midfield position. Obviously, the attacking talents that United have there is up there. It's probably nearly the best in the league, besides City, maybe. I just think maybe you need someone in that defensive midfield role to release Pogba or whatever players are in that 11. Still no sign of one coming in, but this talk of it, obviously. What are your kind of thoughts on the signing so far, and what United have been linked with to come in afterwards?
Yeah, well, last year I would be saying we need a centre half, a centre midfielder, and a centre forward. But the centre forward, Cavani sorted that out, and I think give him another year will bode well for Greenwood, because I think Greenwood will be our number 9. So that bodes well. You don't need to spend massively on a Keane or a Haaland when you've got a stud coming out like Greenwood. So yeah, we've solved that kind of problem where Sancho is just a bonus, really. Varane is definitely needed. He's 28-year-old, 4 Champions League, won the World Cup. He's in his prime. That it's just a perfect signing for Harry Maguire. I think they'll work well together because they're experienced. Harry Maguire, you need a good partnership if you're going to win the league, and hopefully these two are central midfielder. Yes, we do need a central midfielder, but it's just I think we need to find a way to put Pogba in that holding 2 and not McTominay and Fred, because they're just too not so much McTominay, but Fred. He gets around the. I can understand why they play Fred, because he gets around the pitch, but he's frustrating at best of times. So, and you expect him to get a goal here or there. I think he's got 1 goal in about 3 years. So
and he's taking at least 3 shots a game, I think, from outside the box.
And his shots usually probably at the corner flag. So at a rolling pace. So, but it's a fantastic start so far with getting Sancho and Varane over the deal. I'm pretty sure Kieran Trippier is going to be coming as well. So there's another good signing to push Van Bissaka, hoping that has the same effect that Tellez coming in did to Luke Shaw. That can only bode well. So the key goalkeeping situation, they've still got to fight that out. They've still got that issue. Is it going to De Gea? Is it Henderson? Probably pretty sure they'll probably go with Henderson, but who knows?
Yeah, no, that's actually another thing I wanted to kind of touch on. Obviously, you said from when Ollie came in, he's actually cleared a lot of the deadwood and brought in like talented young players that kind of, I suppose, a lot of them have that identity that United want. there hasn't been too much activity so far this summer and clearance some more of them. Can you see more players like maybe Phil Jones and that being shifted, or do you think they're going to stick around? Obviously, the goalkeeper position, you said there, 4 keepers now. So,
well, you'd expect. I don't know what Phil Jones is even doing there. He's not played for how long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was still a strange one why they re-signed him. So, but it's a process, when some of these players are on big dough and no one wants them, you just got to wait for the contract ends and leave him out. Matt, I can understand because he's got a bit of guile, he's got a bit of experience, but people, Matic, is he going to play as much? I don't know because he's getting on in age now.
Yeah.
So they've kind of got like 3 players the same. Well, not same, but McTominay, Fred, and Matic all do the same thing. Do we need 3 holding midfielders when we've got Paul Pogba and I think James Garner, is he still at the club? I think he is.
Yeah.
So there's still a couple that need to go, but he's done very well on the last 3 years and what he's brought in. The lads he's brought through, A. Mason, Greenwood.
Yeah.
So.
Just one last question from me, I suppose, on this. Obviously, you said Ollie here 3 years, been backed massively so far in this window. Obviously, still more to come. Second place finish last year. Do you think Ollie has to deliver this year with the backing he's getting and like what they showed last year and like they've just come up short?
If we don't deliver this year, then he's in trouble. He's got to at least be fighting the last game of the season for the Premiership and possibly win a cup. Or this is Manchester United. Even though we love Ollie, he's been given a good run, been given a lot of money. Yes, he's been improving, but improvement now from last year is winning trophy and competing for the league.
Very true. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Keane, what's your take on that? Do you think the same?
Yeah, look, I said the same there last week. I think when you look at these signings, I think Varane, Sancho is definitely a step in the right direction. Look, if you manage to keep Paul Pogba for the year and you sign a defensive midfield player, you have to win a trophy next season and you have to be in the title race. You need to be thereabouts late April, early May, because that's a sign of progress at that point.
The worry I've got for him is, players are coming back. They've just been away. They're all coming back in dribs and drabs. The season's going to start, in 10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If he gets, and it's not really, if you look at the first 6 fixtures, it's not relatively hard. If they get a couple of losses there, he could be down. He could be really under pressure. So he's got to get a good start. You can't give these teams a start anymore, i.e. City, Liverpool or Chelsea, because they have improved. So he needs a good start. He needs wins early on. If he gets a couple of losses in them first 6s or a couple of draws and a loss, and we're behind the 8 ball in the first 6 games with relatively an easy start, and he's going to be in trouble. Because there are,
especially look at the October-November period we have.
They're going to want to cause trouble.
Yeah.
You look at the October-November period we have, like the tough fixtures we have in that period. We have to play City, Liverpool, Everton, Chelsea, something like that. Like that's a very crucial point of the season. So I absolutely agree.
You expect if you win them, or mostly win them first early games, then that stands you in good stead for them games. If you're behind or you've lost a few of them games, then it puts you under massive pressure to win them games.
To win, yeah. And like, kind of from a Chelsea perspective, the way we've been playing under Tuchel, if he had to come and play us and try and win and go at us, it kind of suits Chelsea more. Exactly. Stuff like the small kind of details like that. It's very true what you're saying. Like, so if he can kind of get that small bit of a lead leading up to those games, it'll be great for United and Ollie.
So it's a big job for him. Like, they've just played Derby, they've just played QPR. None of the English lads played. So none of the English lads are even back there. I think they're probably back training this month.
Next week.
This Monday coming. So they'll have like a week of training. And then they're in it. They're in first game of the season. I know it's not like the old days where they go away and they're all like, all inclusive and they're getting back fat. I'm pretty sure they'll still be in shape, but you've still got to get in match shape, get your feet. When it's weird when you come back to pre-season, your feet have kind of softened a bit, and you need to get your back training and get them hard feet, get the blisters out of the way. It's weird. So you have to get up. It's difficult.
And you mentioned kind of these players come back from pre-season. Obviously, Marcus Rashford is flying home. I believe it was either today or tomorrow. Due to talk to the club about getting the surgery. There's talks now they might even hold off on getting it. What's your thoughts? Because obviously, like towards the back end of last year, he was kind of still playing through injury, and you could see it kind of hindered his form towards the end of the season. Would you be a big advocate for him to get this surgery, and albeit miss the first 2 months of the season, but after that we get the best Marcus Rashford?
Yeah, I think you just get it out of the way, and just making it worse or prolonging it, and on the season it's not helping him. His performance hasn't been great, so is that hindering it? Is that hindering him? So yeah, get it sorted, get it right, and try and get him back as quickly as possible. You know, they've got people to fill in for him.
Yeah, I think like you look at his output last year, like was it 20 goals, 16 assists. Like, look, that's fantastic output, but just imagine if you had a fully fit fire Marcus Rashford all season.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we're forgetting about, we've got totally forget we've still got Anthony Martial.
Yeah.
As a player, if he comes back the 2 years ago, Anthony Martial, then we've got a right player there as well. So we have got a wealth of riches in them kind of positions. So yeah, just get that kind of injury sorted, get it back, and get it back 100%.
Yeah, and you spoke with Martial. Like I was always saying this the other day. Remember when we came back from the lockdown when Project Restart happened, and like people call him like NHS Martial because he got 25 goals. Like when he had that NHS badge on his jersey, like it was the best form of his life. I don't know what we need to do. I think maybe next season we just give him that 2019-20 United jersey just for himself, just to wear on the pitch and the NHS badge, and we'll get the best of him maybe.
Yeah, because if he's on his game, he's a top player.
Yeah, 100%. Rhodri, I'd just like to touch on this actually, because I've watched the interviews and podcasts you've been on in terms of you talked about your time in and around Manchester United. You've obviously had the opportunity to be in the Stretford End, meet fans, you've had all different types of experiences, but you've also had the chance to meet players. I've heard you speak about Roy Keane, those Scholesy, Butty, all these different type of players. Who was the player you kind of got along with most when you've been in and around the club?
We didn't really see him in the club. You should see him more out in Manchester, in town.
Yeah.
People would be friendly. You never really see Scholes. David Beckham, always polite, always used to say a lot. I used to always see David Beckham, always. And he used to live in the same area as me, so I used to see him a lot as well. So, yeah, probably say Becks, back at all them saying, Nicky Butt, Paul Ince. Yeah. But probably David Beckham, yeah.
Yeah, Beckham. I'd say, was he like back in the day? Like he was obviously a massive figure, like on and off the pitch.
I knew Becks when he first. He used to he had a green golf club car. And he used to always be shopping after training. See that green golf flying around town, going in and out of shops. Then he got a different car, and it got stolen. The wheels got nicked because he lived literally on the other side of the street from Ryan, where Ryan had an house. So we used to always see him and stuff, but always used to see him around town, and he used to stop and say, last time I seen David Beckham, it was in St Anne's Square, and he just stopped to say hello, literally talking for like 10 seconds. Within that 10 seconds, there was 150 people around us. So it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a model professional, weren't he? Like on and off the pitch, David Beckham, like he was. I don't think like when you talk about quality of football, like the way like social media is nowadays, like they really kind of disparage players before the social media age. I thought he was like one of the greatest footballers we've had, like, and so talented.
Yeah, he was
really technical ability was brilliant.
Yeah, he was a really good footballer. It was a really good lad. Great parents, Ted and Sandra, his mum, I think it was. It was always good to me, always polite, always nice to me, and it was always wondered why they got rid of him, because he was never. Yes, he was a problem off the pitch, but it never affected his game on the pitch. So it just obviously clashed with him and Fergie. There was only one winner there.
Yeah. I think I've seen Roy Keane say that actually about Beck's kind of, like he said, problems off the field, but it never carried on to the field.
No, never. That's why I was like, well, and Yeah, he was going like helicopters flying here, there, and everywhere, but it never affected his training. Always worked harder than everyone else, and yeah, it never affects his game. So that's why I just thought, well, if it doesn't affect his game, it just obviously didn't. It just rubbed Ferguson up the wrong way, dressing him leather gear, him in leather.
And if you had I think Sean, you've kind of a question kind of with regards to actually being in around United that time as well, because you've mentioned that you go to games.
Yeah.
Go ahead there, Rhodri. Sorry.
No, sorry, go on. I thought it was me. Not for you, that.
Oh yeah, no, I was just I actually had my own question kind of on when you're on about some of the players that you got on with. You mentioned Nicky Butt there. It's kind of a question for both of you guys, I suppose. Obviously, kind of an outside view, I wouldn't know as much about United as you, but Nicky ran the academy the last couple of years, did he? And like from kind of talking to you, he done a very good job in there. Have you like kind of insight into kind of Nicky Butt and like what he's done for the academy and kind of the younger players coming through?
No, not really. I haven't really spoken to him for a while now, but on the outset, you need someone like that to be bringing in. It's a strange one for him to leave. Obviously, he's not happy about something at the club, and that's a worry because he's a person that's been there from like he was 10, so he knows the ins and outs of the club, along with some of his mates. So yeah, that's a worry, but it's you need people like that in them kinds of positions, and it's definitely a bad move for Manchester United, or not a good one for him to leave anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what I was thinking from the outside. And then look, Keane obviously kind of mentioned there about when you were talking to Keane about being the Stretford then, and that kind of, I know you probably have a lot of memories over the years and went to a lot of games, but what would be your favourite memory if you can kind of think of one? I've been at Old Trafford or at United games or in and around the club.
Oh, Old Trafford! It was it was 1991, 92 I started going. So the first year before the Premier League started, and it was a league match ticket book that I bought for £25. And yeah, it just had the name of the game. You just pull the ticket out, just walk in. It was just it was just frightening. It was just remember that when they score, everyone was just jumping on each other. People getting crushed. But in a good way. It wasn't like in a bad way. It was good times. What game would be? There was so many. Probably a Southampton game when they went 1-0 up and then Ryan scored 2 to come back. There's so many Leeds games, Norwich games, so many games in that year. Even though we didn't win the league, but then the next year, the Blackburn game was the most one that stuck out when they won it.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. People on the roofs, everything. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'd say the games back then, some of the teams that United had, kind of even before my time and kind of when I was growing up as a kid, are just unbelievable. I'd say some of the talent.
The team then would have been like, it would have been Sharp, Kanchelskis, McClare, Cantona, Bruce Pallister, Parker, Irwin. Who would be in the middle? Robson, Paul Ince, Mark Hughes. Yeah, it was a brilliant side.
Yeah, Schmeichel actually as well. Who I haven't seen play that much, but I've always heard good things about him, is Kanchelskis. A lot of people think he's underrated.
He was so quick. He was brilliant, and he was a great cross of the ball. That's all he did. He was a proper winger. Take your man on, cross the ball. He was a great player, and with Sharp and Ryan on the other side. Yeah, it was a good team to watch back then. It was a great team to watch. Sparky just ping the ball up to Mark Hughes wherever it be. It just stick to him. It was it was good football back then. Brian McClare was very, very underrated. Would score 20 odd goals every season. Very, very underrated. Could play in the midfield. Could play centre forward. So it was a good side. Paul Ince was just coming into his own. Then they signed Roy Keane. Obviously, Brian Robson was just coming to the end of his career. Yeah, it was a good side.
Look at Dennis Irwin as well. Like obviously, myself and Sean come from Ireland. Like he'd have a lot of adulation over here. But what was it like to watch kind of Dennis Irwin in his prime?
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. Well, I played with a charity team, and Dennis plays on the charity team. They've actually played a couple of weeks ago when he played, so I speak to Dennis quite a lot. So yeah, it's just made it look easy. If you played left back or right back, he could play either side. He scored goals. He scored free kicks. He was just a proper. Any team would want a Dennis Irwin. No trouble. 8, 9 out of 10 every week, and he'll score you 10, 15 goals. That's just where can you find that in the Premier League this year? Anywhere in the world can you find that in a fullback?
Yeah, he was just one of them. Like he was Mr. Consistent, wasn't he? Like left foot, right foot. As you said, score free kicks, score penalties. Like like imagine that fullback. Now I know you've fullbacks out there now. You've the likes of obviously you've Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool, who's a very good attacking fullback. You've Dani Alves down the years. With Barcelona, he was another kind of great fullback. But you look at fullbacks nowadays, they couldn't. You look at him now. Ashley Cole being another for Chelsea, Patrice Evra for United, but you look at Dennis Irwin, he literally had everything in his locker.
Yeah, he's a proper footballer. He could play midfield probably as well, which he does for us. He could literally play anywhere. He's a footballer, but he wasn't blessed with brilliant pace, but very, very experienced and knowing positional sense very, very well. And I can't really think of anyone that really took the mick out of him or had him over. I can't really think of anyone, to be honest, because he was just really steady and no one got the best out of him.
I can tell you one thing now. Me and Sean can attest this. Ireland, we could fucking do with a player like him now.
yeah.
100%.
Anyone could, Wales could, even England could, anyone could. He's like I say, you will not find a fullback that gets 8, 9 out of 10 and scores you 10, 15 goals anywhere in the world right now. And that was him every year for 15 years.
And do you know what though? I think when you look back, I think I've seen a post recently. People call him underrated, but he wasn't underrated by any Man United fans.
No, it wasn't.
That's ridiculous. It was one of the most ridiculous statements I've seen in my life. Really.
No. If you're picking an 11, Dennis Irwin would be in 99.9% people's 11.
Definitely, 100%.
It would be Dennis Irwin on the left, Gary Neville on the right. Yeah,
it's absolute certainties for the back four for any all-time 11. It's funny you actually mentioned 11s because I have a question for you, and I've been mulling over this question all day, which way I'm going to pose it. Well, I'm actually going to pose it in two parts. In terms of Manchester United's current squad now, obviously we have a lot of kind of talented players, good young players, experienced players, but if you could pick any player that would thrive in both the 1999 and the 2008 winning teams, what player in the current Man United squad would thrive in them squads?
Say that again.
So, out of both the 1999 and the 2008 team that both won the Champions League, and obviously the 2008 team won the double, the 1999 team won the treble. If there's any one player out of the current Manchester United squad, which one of them do you think would thrive in either of them squads?
Mason Greenwood.
Mason?
Yeah.
I suppose you look at Mason, he's right foot, left foot. There he can take on a player. He can play on the right. He can play up front. Definitely, I think he's definitely a player. Definitely
he's from the come through the youth, which is Manchester United DNA, and he's going to be a real player.
100%. Sean, do you have any kind of player who you think of the current squad now, looking from the outside in? Do you think who would thrive in both the 1999 and 08 team?
Yeah, Greenwood was a good shout, to be fair. It was a very quick answer, so he was dead set on that. Rhodri was. I suppose you see, because there's a few players like I really like Luke Shaw as well, but like you said there, you were kind of talking about the 99 team and that, and like Evra was there for the 2008 team. You have good options there as well. It's quite a tough question from the outside, I suppose. I suppose, look, the only two I can kind of like that I go for is Greenwood or I think Rashford did do well as well. Rashford wouldn't be a bad shout either. But apart from that, it's very tough to pick, because those two teams were very good.
I think for me,
the 99 side, you could probably throw in Paul Pogba there as well, because 99 side, I remember there was Scholes was injured. No, Scholes was suspended, and Roy Keane was suspended, and the midfield was Nicky Butt and David Beckham, Ryan on the right, Blomqvist on the left. So you could probably fit Paul Pogba in there somewhere, and then the 2008, 2009, who was it? It was Carrick and Scholes. So
Hargreaves as well.
Hargreaves, yeah.
I think, Paul Pogba definitely would thrive in both them teams. Do you know what, for me, because he's kind of an old-fashioned kind of striker from 99, I know we had Cole, Doe York, Sheringham and Solskjaer. I think Cavani in that squad, his mentality, his position and his finishing. Now, all them four strikers did have their own roles, but I think Cavani could definitely be a striker who definitely can thrive in that environment. What do you think?
Yeah, but in the 2008, you've got Rooney, Tevez, and Ronaldo. So I'd be a brave man to take one of them out for Cavani.
Yeah, so, I'd say like in terms of the squad, I think in terms of
unbelievable striker. Great striker. His movement is second to none. He's just brilliant, and tell the kids all the time, get across your first man, get across, because so many balls come across, and you just, if you're good head of the ball, which Cavani is, you'll get a hat full of goals in a season, because people are crap at crosses, and it always mostly don't beat the first man. So get across your first man, and he's brilliant at it. So he would, don't get me wrong, he'd do very well in both teams. But
imagine Beckham whipping in crosses to him. I think that'd be a sight.
I know.
100%. I think the only other player for me, I think if you're talking 2008, that kind of maybe gets into that squad thing, maybe Bruno Fernandes. I think maybe if you look at his attacking midfield outfit, his goal scoring ability, and the Ferguson team that 2008 team always took risks. I think Bruno would thrive in that environment.
No, yeah, it's like Sean says, it's a difficult question. I just Mason Greenwood is going to be a Manchester United centre forward for 15 years. So how many times have we had a centre forward come through the ranks from Manchester United be a stalwart in the centre forward area? It's difficult. It's very difficult to score goals at the top level, and he does it he looked very easily with both feet. So he's going to be a top player.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the sky's the limit with Mason. I think
he's unfortunate to miss out of England as well. Very unfortunate. If that crap didn't happen with Foden last year, he'd have been there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. And he was nursing an injury as well at the end of the season, and I think that was one of the contributing factors to him not going as well. But look, I'm delighted he's back fully fit and firing for the season. One last question, Rhodri, just before we finish up. Expectations this year, what's your predictions? Let's say we get the defensive midfielder in, get Trippier in, on top of the current business we have now. What are your predictions for Manchester United next season?
Well, I don't think they'll get a defensive midfielder in now. I think it's too late. I think with Trippier coming in and the two signings they've already got, I think that'll be it. And thinking, because he does like Fred and McTominay for some bizarre reason. McTominay I can put up with. Fred, he's it's hard work, but you need to be winning trophies. Like I said before, you at Manchester United now, you've been given the funds, you've had enough time. 3 years is a good time to be, setting your stall out and challenging for that title, and at least winning a cup. If he doesn't do that, then he will be gone. I'm pretty sure of that, because he's been given 80 million for Maguire, 100 million this year. Bruno Fernandes, he's been backed. Yes, it was a tough job, and he's done a good job, but it's Manchester United. Again, it's not Arsenal, it's not Tottenham, this is Manchester United. We need to win things. As well, shout out to your mates.
They love that one. Especially shout out to Stephen Williams, shout out to them guys. But Rhodri, thanks very much for coming on this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you and get your insight kind of on your own kind of road in football, but also talk about Manchester United as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. On behalf of myself and Sean, though, thanks very much for coming on.
No, like I say, mate, anytime.
No problem at all. And just for our viewers, just to let you know, our Academy podcast will be going live as well, straight after Manchester United versus Brentford tonight. Myself and Shane will be joined by Dale O'Donnell from Stretty News. So do check that out at 9:35 tonight. But as always, guys, thanks very much for viewing the podcast here today. And we'll be back later on this evening. Thanks very much.